The easiest example would be the early 20th century struggle for birth control, because there were all sorts of discourses, of course, about birth control being unnatural and what was, what is natural, what is unnatural. And so a lot of the fight for birth control, as far as the idea of whether it would be a good thing, had to do with contesting notions of the natural and the unnatural. It's all over the place, even in, say, African American magazines of the time. That was a big issue within that community, and oftentimes they looked at agriculture and the notion of weeds, and just as a farmer must weed the plot of land so that he'll be able to raise crops, we must have birth control to weed and all of this. So it was very interesting to see how they had to contest those discourses that were out there in order to claim reproductive freedom rights. Well, it's interesting because then with eugenics, the emphasis of, or the people who would have control with eugenics would tend to be a sort of, male and a kind of scientific establishment. I mean, much more of an institutionalized sort of thing. Whereas with a lot of the early birth control movements, Sanger's early work, and certainly Emma Goldman, for example, it was much more of a leftist and socialist push for birth control. That poor women needed birth control. Rich women already had it through various means, and that poor women didn't. And then it switched to eugenics later on. And then there were more notions of control. And of course, the ideas of controlling nature and controlling female reproduction as far as specific groups of people, that would be a classic instance of how gender and environmentalism kind of are intertwined.